Tonight, we're live from Milan as Team USA begins its march towards Olympic glory. And back at home, the new video message from Savannah Guthrie as a possible ransom deadline approaches. You'll hear the urgent new plea from Savannah for anyone with information to come forward. Her video posted just before the final deadline in that unverified ransom note. What the police chief just said about police activity at the house tonight, as Savannah and her siblings say they are willing to pay. Also tonight, triumph and tribulations at the Olympic Winter Games. What skier Lindsey Vonn just said about her horrific crash and the injuries she's now recovering from. Back home, members of Congress combing through millions of unredacted Epstein files, what they reveal. Plus, Ghislaine Maxwell pleading the fifth, her new demand in order for her to speak. Newly released body cam video of those critical moments after the deadly shooting at Brown University. Police searching for the killer. A small plane crash landing at a busy intersection, hitting multiple cars. The dramatic sound from inside the cockpit. The pilot saying what he thought were his final words. Explosive highway heist, armed robbers blowing up an armored truck in broad daylight. What happened next? And the landmark study to help prevent dementia. What researchers say you can do to dramatically decrease your risk for the debilitating condition. Plus, the stunning ice skating performance putting Team USA on top. A special edition of Top Story starts right now. And good evening. We begin tonight live from Milan, where the Winter Olympics have begun and Team USA has already soared to great heights and experienced some painful setbacks. We do have some new reporting on Lindsey Vonn's condition after that heartbreaking crash, and we'll have more on Team USA in just a moment. Behind me, the Duomo, the second largest Catholic cathedral in the world. You see it right here, towering over the city and also over these games. A fitting background as we begin tonight with prayer. Our dear colleague Savannah Guthrie just moments ago calling on our help and prayers as the desperate search for her missing 84-year-old mother, Nancy Guthrie, intensifies. Savannah releasing a new message as tonight's deadline from that unconfirmed ransom note looms. Here's Savannah's video for you in full.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
There are new developments tonight that have just come in, so we want to start once again with NBC's Liz Kreutz, who's on the ground again in Tucson.
Tonight, in that new video, Savannah making an excruciating plea.
We are at an hour of
Nancy's disappearance. The demand $6 million in Bitcoin by 5 p.m. tonight.
We will pay.
While investigators have not yet determined if the ransom note is real, on Saturday, Savannah posted this heart-wrenching video saying she and her siblings are willing to pay despite no evidence they've received proof of life.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace.
What do you make of these specific words she's using? We want to have peace, celebration. Well, there could be some implication to the family in the communique that some harm's come to Nancy or they've lost Nancy. I think the family leaves. Nancy could still be here, but maybe she's not. Either way, we still want to deal with you because it's important to us.
Jim Kavanaugh, a former hostage negotiator, has reviewed the purported ransom note and tells us there are some things that make him question its legitimacy, like how the alleged abductors still haven't given definitive proof they actually took Nancy. He was also struck that the note asked specifically for payment in USD.
Does it seem like these are originating from overseas?
That's kind of the first impression. We don't talk like that domestically. We would just say $6 million, $7 million, $10 million, whatever the number. We wouldn't say USD.
Over the weekend, investigators continued their extensive search of Nancy Guthrie's home, towing away a car believed to be hers and searching the vegetation around her home along with a septic tank.
Initially, you're trying to find somebody alive, but now you have to go back and say, well, maybe she was hidden, harmed and hidden.
A painstaking search now 9 days since Nancy disappeared.
Liz Kreutz joins us once again from Tucson. Liz, I know you're outside Nancy Guthrie's home, and we just heard from the sheriff's office about the search continuing. Explain what they revealed.
Yeah, hey, Tom, so we're outside Nancy's home right now, and today so far it's been relatively quiet, but the sheriff's department just put out a statement saying that they are going to be continuing the search of the Guthrie residences tonight into tomorrow, so presumably that would be Nancy's home and property here and also the home of her daughter Annie's. They said that this investigation and these follow-up searches are also going to be part of following up on new leads, which is notable. And as for the search at Annie's home, investigators were searching there on Saturday night, and a spokesperson said that was all part of the normal course of this investigation and that it was done with consent of the family, meaning not because of a search warrant or some kind of probable cause. Tom?
All right, Liz Kreutz with some new developments there. Liz, thank you. NBC's Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us tonight from Tucson. Kelly, a few things I want to talk to you about. First, I do want to show our viewers these missing persons billboards that have gone up in Texas and in Arizona. This is the first time I've seen this. I'm sure a lot of viewers as well. The FBI has confirmed that these are going up in neighboring cities and states. Talk to us really about what the FBI is doing right now, because I think a lot of viewers of both the Today Show and NBC News and then just friends and family of Savannah Guthrie just really concerned that we're so many days into this, more than a week, and it feels like we've gotten nowhere. What exactly is the FBI doing?
Well, the FBI is actively involved, and those billboards you referenced, Tom, do give us a sense of the range and breadth of how they are investigating this. From Albuquerque, New Mexico, to San Diego, California, Houston, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, a sense of the regional outreach that the FBI is doing. You could also see how if Nancy Guthrie's captors took her somewhere by getting on a highway, or if they are certainly in the area, that could generate information from tipsters, people who might know something specific. So that's part of the broad reach here. The FBI has a few hundred people involved in this. It's personnel from headquarters. It includes the Phoenix field office here in Tucson, the people who are stationed here, and expertise from around the FBI on things like handling cell phone analysis, digital assessments. And a lot of that work is going on that is painstaking and slow work. The billboards are an opportunity to generate that kind of tip where someone has heard something, knows something, might have overheard a conversation. Those kinds of basic law enforcement outreach in many cases have generated worthwhile evidentiary leads. They're hoping for that. And certainly it reinforces the public aspect of this. Savannah Guthrie, our colleague, is well known to the American people. Her mother's story has become well known. And now with the passage of some time, perhaps there is someone who has hesitated to come forward who's willing to say something now. Tom?
We hope you're right. All right, Kelly O'Donnell for us reporting, part of our team from NBC News covering this horrific story. I want to bring in Dan Bruner. He's a former FBI special agent with 20 years of experience in crisis management. Dan, we thank you for joining Top Story tonight. I want to ask you about this latest video from Savannah. Notably, she's asking the public for help, even if you are, quote, far from Tucson. As time goes on, does the likelihood increase at all that Nancy Guthrie is not in the Tucson area?
I think, unfortunately, it was going in the first week. I think we were looking at as every day goes on with the, if she was missing her medications. But I think at this point, we're now getting to the point of hours. At every hour that goes by is more dangerous for her. If she doesn't get her medications that she's required for her medical needs, it's going to be very, very difficult to get to the point of where we're hopefully going to rescue her from whatever situation she is, whether it be kidnapping or she's in another situation where she could be rescued. I think it just becomes now we're getting to the point of hours, if not days.
Yeah, Dan, but I'm asking you, do you think she's still in the Tucson area? I mean, from everything you've seen, what is your sense? It felt that she maybe could be in the area at first, but now with this new message, it sounds like they're appealing to anyone across the country and around the world if they have information to help the Guthrie family.
Yes, I agree. She could be anywhere in the country. I mean, she could be anywhere literally in the world at this point. She's been missing now for 9 days. But I think that we're dealing with, if these 3 ransom notes that were provided to the Guthrie family, if these are legitimate notes, if these are truly from the kidnappers, I believe that she's in the Tucson area because many of these notes were sent directly to local affiliates of TV stations. They weren't sent to the Today Show. They weren't sent to major news networks. They weren't sent to major news outlets, CNN, NBC. They were sent to local news stations that they knew. So I believe that if these letters are legitimate and the kidnappers have her there, I think that she is there in the area. I think they understand that transporting someone of 84 years old such long distance away from Tucson would be very difficult. But I think that she's still in the area.
Yeah, local news stations and also the one to TMZ as well. I do want to go back to another video Savannah released over the weekend in which the family said they were willing to pay. She seemed to use very specific language and was very careful with her words. Here it is.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
It's so hard to watch these videos. I actually hate playing these videos because it's, we know Savannah so well, but we're hoping that somebody sees this and is touched in a way that they'll want to help out as well. What did you think of that video, of the tone and the message?
And it's an excellent video that closely coordinated. Each one of these videos are closely coordinated with the FBI crisis negotiators who are right there in the Phoenix division, and they're telling them these are the words that will be used. And that's exactly what you said. This is talking to not the kidnapper, whoever is the leader of this group, because that person is steadfast on their mission. This is talking to someone inside the circle who is nervous or may not have some hesitancy to do harm to her, and that's the ones they're targeting. That's the people they're trying to get them to break and then maybe come forward before the dam breaks and before they get caught, maybe provide some information, maybe provide a silent tip, or maybe release Miss Guthrie, to the public and release her to law enforcement before anything horrific can go happen.
This has been so many days now, but authorities are still searching Nancy's property in recent days, including the septic tank. What could they be going back for that they missed the first time around?
There's countless things that can be either need to be double checked or new leads, new identification, new purposes. Exactly what your other reporters were saying is there's countless teams out there working on the cellular analysis. They're going to look at the van, the suspicious van that was talked about a few days ago. What cell phones were in the area at the same time of the van, at the Circle K, at the house. Numerous things are being worked on simultaneously. Getting these teams to look on the roof, getting these teams to look at septic tanks, other means of areas to hide somebody or hide a body if she had been murdered. So there's lots of different opportunities, lots of different things. They're going to move the scope out, move the circle out from the house, look at the neighborhood, look at different identities, look at different information, work with a behavioral analysis unit at headquarters to find out, are these emails really from a suspicious person who is conducting the kidnapping, or is this just a missing person who may have been murdered inside of a home invasion and the body has been taken elsewhere? Hopefully that is not the case. I really hope that they're able to find Ms. Guthrie and return her to her family quickly.
Do you still think, because it's unclear if any of these ransom notes are real, do you think this is a ransom situation, or could this just been a horrific crime and it's still unclear exactly what this is?
Well, based on my experience, I've worked with crisis negotiators countless times. I don't believe that they would be advising the family to put out those messages, to put out these last few messages, if they didn't have credibility to believe that these messages could be legitimate. Now, I'm not saying that they are legitimate, but it's possible there probably was information inside these emails which led to the credibility and those crisis negotiators. Those crisis negotiators would absolutely be saying, don't send out a message, don't put out anything else to continue to perpetuate the vision that this is a kidnapping, if they didn't believe these messages could be valid, could be legitimate. So I believe that working closely with those FBI crisis negotiators, the Quantico officials, headquarters officials, all of those people working together, those messages were very carefully crafted to direct towards the kidnappers.
It's a good point, and we thank you for your analysis tonight here. Dan Bruner, former FBI crisis manager, we appreciate you joining Top Story. This is a tough turn. It is a tough turn every single night, but we're going to focus now on what's happening here in Milan, where we're coming to you live, the Olympic action that is underway. It was a scary and heartbreaking moment for Lindsey Vonn and Team USA this weekend. The skiing superstar airlifted to the hospital after a nasty crash. Tonight, we're hearing from her for the first time as her fellow Olympians start bringing home the gold.
I have no regrets. Those are the words from Lindsey Vonn tonight, a day after this horrific crash knocked her out of the Olympics. Vonn posting on Instagram she suffered a complex tibia fracture that will require multiple surgeries to fix. She crashed just seconds into her downhill run.
The tone is set right here.
Oh my goodness, no! The crowd stunned to silence as she was airlifted from the course. I was simply 5 inches too tight on my line when my right arm hooked inside the gate, twisting me, Vonn wrote. My ACL and past injuries had nothing to do with my crash whatsoever. Adding, if you take anything away from my journey, it's that you all have the courage to dare greatly.
Kokomo could throw down something massive right here.
And that's what these athletes did today, with medals up for grabs in 5 sports, including freestyle skiing.
First run of 3 for Eileen Gu.
Eileen Gu took home silver in slopestyle.
Eileen Gu, the stomp on the right side, 1260, a beautiful masterpiece.
Gu is a San Francisco native, but competes for China, where her mother is from. On the ice, the U.S. women's hockey team continued their dominant run, beating Switzerland 5-0.
A 5-0 victory for the United States.
While NHL players have arrived back at the Olympics for the first time in 12 years. Team USA didn't waste any time before hitting the ice. And despite a strong skate from married ice dancers Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, they sit in second place after tonight's short program.
They're skating with precision, with ease.
Just hours after Chalk and Bates helped Team USA win gold in the team event, their teammate Alyssa Liu says her medal broke. Skier Breezy Johnson had the same problem.
Yeah, it came apart.
And now Olympics organizers say they're investigating with maximum attention.
And after these comments on Friday,
it brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now.
Led President Trump to call freestyle skier Hunter Hess, quote, a real loser. Hess posting today he cannot wait to represent Team USA, adding, as an American, he values having the right and the freedom to point out things that could be better in the country. And here's a look right now where the medal count stands. Host country Italy is atop the leaderboard with 9 total medals, but Team USA in play with 2 golds and ready for more. So for more on Lindsey Vonn and that horrific crash, I want to bring in former professional alpine ski racer and Olympian Alice McKennis-Duran. Alice, thanks so much for joining us tonight here on Top Story. Alice, you skied on teams with Lindsey. She's such a fierce competitor. How hard was it for you to watch that crash when she seemed to be having the comeback of ages?
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. It was absolutely horrifying to see her have that crash. And I spent a decade on the U.S. ski team with Lindsey and had seen her crash many times before, but this one was especially shocking and hard to watch, I would say.
Yeah, Alice, I want you to kind of break this down for us. I'm going to read some more of what Vonn wrote on Instagram. Here's what she posted. She wrote, I was simply 5 inches too tight on my line. when my right arm hooked inside of the gate, twisted me, and resulted in my crash. My ACL and past injuries had nothing to do with my crash whatsoever. Can you explain what this means to a viewer who might not be familiar with the technicalities of this type of skiing?
Well, in ski racing, the margins are so slim, and you really have to push the limit. And Lindsey was pushing the limit there. She was really trying to run a really aggressive, fast race line, and just the slight tightness of her positioning on the gate, and when she hooked her arm, threw her off balance. It was nothing she did wrong. I've skied that line. Other women have skied that line. And it's just sometimes if you're off a tiny, tiny bit with the timing, these really serious accidents can happen.
Yeah, as you know, Vonn's Olympic run may have ended, but her teammate, Breezy Johnson, won the gold medal in that downhill competition. She had such an incredible race. She said Vonn was cheering her on, and skiing looks very much like an individual sport from the outside. I know you guys are so competitive, but at the end of the day, you're still a team. Talk to me about how skiers sort of come together in competitions like this.
Well, it is an individual sport, but we trained as teams. You are on a team of multiple women, and you cannot do it alone. So when you see a teammate or a close friend succeed, it really is an inspiring thing to see. And it's an incredible moment for Breezy Johnson, an incredible moment for Team USA, and she's worked so hard to get to that level. And I think as a community of Americans and just Team USA, we can be really happy and supportive for Breezy's success.
Yeah, we'll see Breezy again tomorrow competing with, I think, Michaela Schifrin in the combined event. What do they need to do to win gold, to succeed?
They just have to ski like themselves, trust in their ability to ski, and go out and ski how they know to ski. And they have really good chances, in my opinion. And we have several strong teams lined up tomorrow for the women's team combined. So it'll be an exciting day of racing.
All right, we can't wait. Alice, so great to talk to you. Thanks for joining Top Story. We're back in a moment with a dramatic crash caught on camera. A plane slamming into cars after making an emergency landing on a busy road. What happened here? You'll also hear what they said in the cockpit. Plus, members of Congress now getting a first look at unredacted versions of the Epstein files, what they're revealing. And the terrifying moment at a fairground when a ride packed with people suddenly collapses. That's ahead tonight here on Top Story. We're back now with some dramatic video of an emergency landing in Georgia we want to show you. The video, it shows the plane actually crashing into an intersection, striking multiple vehicles. One of the pilots was radioing in what he thought would be his last message to his wife and family. You're about to hear that. Here's Tom Costello with the video and the story.
Stunning video from Gainesville, Georgia, captured the moment a single-engine Beechcraft Bonanza crashed into a busy intersection. On board, 2 pilots, including a student.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Just seconds earlier, one of them radioed a goodbye.
We're not going to make it. Please tell my wife, Molly, I love her, and my parents. I love them so much.
The plane careened down the road, slamming into 3 vehicles, a fuel tank embedded in the back of an SUV, the driver covered in fuel. The plane had taken off from a nearby airport and was trying to turn back when it developed engine trouble. Amazingly, only 2 people suffered minor injuries. Both pilots walked away.
The fact that they were able to land in the middle of hundreds of vehicles and only hit 3 of them, no power lines, is very remarkable.
The Bonanza is considered one of the best general aviation planes in the air. Tonight, the FAA is investigating. Tom?
Tom Costello, we thank you for that. Next tonight to Washington, where lawmakers got their first opportunity to view unredacted versions of the files on Jeffrey Epstein. This coming as Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's co-conspirator, pleaded the Fifth today virtually in a private deposition to Congress. NBC's Julie Sirkin joins us live tonight from Capitol Hill. Julie, so great to have you on the broadcast. Some members of Congress viewed those documents unredacted at the Department of Justice today for the first time. What are we learning from them?
Well, we're learning, Tom, of course, the reactions are limited because they could only go into that room with a paper and a pen, no staff, no electronics, no phone. And of course, these are millions of documents. But we're already hearing from those who were able to see these unredacted files that perhaps the DOJ redacted more than the law required. Remember, the law passed by Congress, signed into law by the president, mandated redactions only for sensitive survivor information, names, anything that could personally identify these women. that, of course, had to deal with these crimes at the hands of Epstein. Those women, though, Tom, released an ad that aired all day yesterday on Super Bowl Sunday, suggesting the DOJ has millions more files that have yet to be released, questioning those very redactions that I just talked to you about. And some members say they're saving their questions for Pam Bondi, who's supposed to testify before the House Judiciary Committee on Wednesday.
And then Julie, Maxwell virtually appeared in front of the House Oversight Committee today. She pleaded the Fifth and avoided answering any questions. As you know, your team on the Hill just got these comments from Speaker Mike Johnson. Let's listen.
I think she has an obligation to tell the truth. There's so many victims and so much harm that's been done. Watch the rope here. I just think it's unconscionable that she's pleading the Fifth or trying to make deals. She needs to tell the truth. It's long overdue, and I think it would be good for her.
So those are some strong words from the Speaker, and we're hearing from Maxwell's lawyer tonight.
We are hearing from Maxwell's lawyer, who's saying she is willing to speak, but only with a catch. That catch is if President Trump grants her a pardon or clemency. You see that statement on your screen. They say Miss Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. This isn't a new move from Maxwell. She's sort of been playing this game since July. That's when the committee first started their request to hear from her. Survivors of Epstein's and Maxwell's, of course, she was a longtime co-conspirator, say what more could she possibly add? She's an untrustworthy character. And of course, members in both sides of the aisle, as you just heard from Speaker Johnson there, are concerned about a potential clemency grant from the president. President Trump, though, has not ruled it out. Tom?
All right, Julie Sirkin for us. Julie, again, thanks for being there for us. Still to come tonight, the new research out on potentially delaying the effects of dementia, how playing a game could help protect your brain. We're going to explain this. Plus, the chaotic scene here in Italy as a boat loses control before smashing into a gondola. Look at that, tossing people into the water. We're back now with body cam video shedding new light in the wake of that deadly shooting at Brown University. Police releasing footage of the intense moments hunting for a killer they believe was in the building. NBC's Aaron McLaughlin has more.
All right, dispatch, be advised. It's an active shooter situation.
Tonight, harrowing new video shows officers storming the Brown University building minutes after a gunman opened fire, killing 2 students and injuring 9. In the body camera video, heavily redacted by police, you see what Lead Lieutenant Patrick Potter saw as police hunt for the killer. Guns drawn, questioning a university maintenance worker in the building's basement.
Do you have any weapons on you? No.
Before letting him go.
We got to continue to make sure the shooter is not in this building still.
The frantic moments mark the beginning of an intense multi-state manhunt that ended 6 days later when the alleged gunman Claudio Neves Valenti was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in a storage unit in New Hampshire, having also killed an MIT professor in a separate attack in Massachusetts.
They're going to stay with you.
In the 20-minute video, you also see medics entering the university building with stretchers, as well as abandoned backpacks, laptops, and coats left behind by students desperate to escape. Now part of a trove of evidence released today by the city of Providence. While over the weekend, students gathered to remember.
If there's one big outstanding question, it's why did these poor kids get targeted by someone? None of the camera footage will answer that question.
The campus still haunted by the unknown.
City officials say as of now, the Providence investigation is closed. They say they do plan on hiring a third party to evaluate the emergency response on that day. That report, officials say, is expected in the next 3 to 12 months. Tom?
All right, Aaron, thank you for that. Now to Top Stories newsfeed. The Justice Department moving to dismiss the criminal case against Steve Bannon. Bannon was convicted of contempt of Congress for refusing to testify before the House committee that investigated the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Bannon served 4 months in prison in 2024, meaning the moves would be mostly symbolic. The DOJ says dismissing the case is in the, quote, interest of justice. We reached out to Bannon but have not yet heard back. And star rookie for the Atlanta Falcons arrested after authorities say he got into a violent domestic dispute. Linebacker James Pierce Jr. taken into custody on Saturday in Miami following a chase with police. He's accused of clipping another officer with his Lamborghini after allegedly hitting the car of his former girlfriend, WNBA star Rakia Jackson. Pierce posted bond, and his attorney says Pierce maintains his innocence. Moving on, in New Jersey, a missing elderly man rescued from an icy ravine after emergency teams tracked him down using his Apple AirTag. Body cam video shows crews hooking up a rope and pulling the man more than 40 feet up to the hill to safety. Pretty incredible. This is Jersey City. The Hoboken Fire Department saying they found him after his AirTag started pinging. We're told he was hurt and out in the freezing cold for hours, but he is expected to be okay. And take a look at this, a chaotic collision caught on camera on Venice's Grand Canal. Video shows the moment a water bus slams into one of the city's famous gondolas, knocking passengers into the water. You can see them floating by their overturned boat as police and others rush to help. Local media reporting the water bus lost control because of a technical failure and that no one was seriously hurt. Pretty wild, though. Okay, now to the Americas and the dramatic and drastic new emergency measures in Cuba. The government now cutting off fuel for international flights, reducing school hours, and restricting people to a 4-day work week as the U.S. chokehold on key resources brings the island to the brink. I want to bring in NBC's George Solis with the latest. George, we saw today Cuba warning that they're running out of fuel for commercial planes, and now at least one major carrier canceling all flights.
Yeah, that's right. The fuel rationing there in Cuba appearing to reach a fever pitch, with Cuban aviation officials warning that they may not have enough fuel around the country's airports, including Jose Marti International there in Havana. Air Canada, for its part, seeming to heed this warning, saying it is going to send empty jets to bring some 3,000 or so Canadian tourists that are there on the island. As you know, Canada is a major tourist hub there for Cuba. In a statement telling NBC News they are suspending its service due to the ongoing shortage of aviation fuel on the island, going on to say they made the decision following advisories by the government's notice to airmen regarding the unreliability of the aviation fuel supply, Tom.
So Mexico's President Sheinbaum and President Trump have both promised humanitarian aid. I think we committed $6 million. Is that in the works, and how fast can it get there?
Yeah, Tom. So to Claudia Sheinbaum's proposal for humanitarian aid, it's allegedly already on its way. She said either today or if not very soon, about 800 tons of aid heading to Cuba by boat. As far as the U.S. State Department aid, the Trump administration's aid, that's $6 million on top of the $3 million that's already been issued. Now, keep in mind, as you know, this is primarily designed to help with some of those relief efforts after Hurricane Melissa slammed the eastern part of the island. And of course, this is talking food, some energy supplies, but a lot of this and a lot of the people there seem to be concerned over how it might be distributed, considering getting things from point A to point B could be challenging as the government starts to ration fuel around, Tom.
Yeah, and one of the major ways Cubans are getting out is to go through Nicaragua. That's how they reach the U.S. That's now effectively closed. Explain.
Yeah, that's right. So the government announcing over the weekend that the visa classification, A, which was visa exempt, is now being switched to C, which is essentially just saying that they now need to present a visa. And as you mentioned, this is significant because this has been historically a bridge of sorts that many Cubans have used to get to the U.S. So it just really kind of tells you about how other countries in the region are starting to react, especially to the Trump administration's actions, saying that if any country does help, they could be faced with significant sanctions, Tom.
All right, George Solis from Miami. George, thank you. Now to Top Stories Health Check and the groundbreaking study on reducing the risks for dementia. Researchers tracking thousands of participants over 2 decades, finding that brain training games could dramatically lower the chances of that devastating diagnosis. NBC's Erica Edwards speaks with one woman who says it changed her life.
Phyllis Walter began experiencing what she thought were signs of aging more than 20 years ago when she was in her 50s. Things like forgetting words and some memory loss.
I would try communicating and I couldn't remember words.
Now at age 80, Phyllis says her mind is sharper than ever.
Click the start button to begin.
She credits it to a video game that challenges her brain to work faster.
It turned my life around.
It turned your life around.
I found my brain was sharper than it had been when I was 17.
Phyllis has been part of a 20-year study. Tonight, for the first time, the results show evidence that speed training for the brain might stave off dementia.
And the reduction is really quite significant. It's by 25%.
25%. That's huge.
It is huge.
The study from Johns Hopkins included nearly 3,000 people 65 and older without any evidence of dementia. Most were women. Participants were assigned to different kinds of video games through an online platform called Brain HQ. The games were meant to focus on one of three things: memory, reasoning skills, or how quickly the brain reacts to visual prompts. It was the speed training game called Double Decision, researchers said, that lowered the risk for dementia and Alzheimer's disease.
It's quite demanding. You have to pay attention. In the study, people did it for an hour, twice a week, for about 6 weeks.
The benefit was found in people who did additional training 3 years later, 23 hours in all.
So I do a crossword puzzle every day, right? How is this different?
We think that this is different because if you do a crossword puzzle, it's a skill you've learned already. You're doing it every day. It's not stretching you in any way.
The effects for participants remained 20 years later, though it's unclear if speed training prevents dementia altogether. For Phyllis, it's been life-changing.
I can't imagine where I would be right now if I hadn't taken it. I mean, it scares me to think of where I might have been.
And with that, Erica Edwards joins us now. Erica, I watched this report, I read your script, and I'm just wondering, should I be playing these brain games? Should everybody be playing these brain games now to sort of preserve their brain, if you will?
Sure. So, Tom, this study looked at people over age 65, but we know from previous research that signs of Alzheimer's disease can develop in the brain decades earlier. Dr. Albert said it is possible that people in their 40s and 50s could benefit. At the very least, there's no harm. Tom.
Erica Edwards, really interesting story there. We thank you for that. All right, we're going to turn overseas now to Top Stories Global Watch. We're going to start in southern Italy with a fiery attack in the middle of a busy highway. Take a look at this. Video shows heavily armed robbers blocking traffic before appearing to set off an explosion on the security van. So far, Italian police say they've arrested 2 suspects and are still searching for the others. In Hong Kong, pro-democracy activist and former media tycoon Jimmy Lai sentenced today to 20 years in prison. That's the longest punishment handed down so far under a controversial Chinese-imposed national security law. Lai is a fierce critic of Beijing, convicted on charges of sedition and colluding with foreign forces. The 78-year-old had denied all the charges against him. And disturbing video out of India showing a ride collapsing at a fairground. You can see the swing ride appearing to come loose on one side, then crashing down. This happened over the weekend outside New Delhi. Authorities telling the Times of India a police officer was killed while trying to save others. They say around 13 people were hurt and rushed to the hospital. All right, when we come back here, much more of the Winter Olympic Games underway here in Milan and in Cortina, including Team USA's stunning performance on the ice and the single point that separated the gold and silver medal winners. We'll explain it all. That's next.
It is the U.S. winning the gold medal in the team competition here in Milan.
Those were some of the sights and sounds of Team USA celebrating their gold medal win in the team figure skating event. The quad god, Ilya Malinin, bringing it home for the Americans with a powerful free skate. I want to bring in NBC's Stephanie Gosk, who's been following all things skating for us in Milan. Stephanie, the quad god was the anchor there for Team USA, but they all really showed up against very tough Japanese and Italian teams.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they came in the heavy favorites, right? But Team Japan brought it. I mean, they had some incredible performances, and there were a couple of wobbles from the American team. But then you had this performance by a pairs team that many people haven't heard of, Danny O'Shea, Ellie Kam. They came out and they skated better than they ever had before and finished in 4th place. It gave them that extra point. So when Ilya Malinin did that incredible performance in his free skate, they had just that 1-point edge over the Japanese team, and they got the gold.
And that Japanese skater was truly incredible. I mean,
Tremendous.
we can't take anything away from him.
Yeah.
I do want you to explain something to our viewers, because I was watching last night in prime time, and I'm going, how is the backflip that Ilya does not the toughest move? And it's not. It's the quad axel, right?
I mean, you look at that and you think, oh, my God, how can that possibly happen?
Right.
He does this quad axel, which a quad is 4 rotations. The quad axel is 4.5 rotations, right?
Okay.
And that's what makes it so difficult. He's the only one who has landed it in competition. He did not land it in his free skate last night. One of the things that made him rise above, and he had a couple of wobbles himself in that performance, is that he does so many quads. The Japanese skater did 3, and he did more than that.
Right. So I know you had a chance to catch up with some of them and talk to them. How nervous were they? Could you tell? I mean, did they think, wait, we may get silver in this event?
Yeah. They were nervous, but they also talked about, I mean, these are skaters that are often just going for these individual achievements. They talked about how great it was to be going as a team and the support of the team and going for the gold. They also talked about the fact that this was kind of a warm-up for some of them, right? I mean, they really have their eyes on those individual medals. Someone like Amber Glenn, she was very nervous. She said, you know, this was a chance to get those cobwebs out because she wants to be totally focused on the individual event.
Anybody else you're watching the individuals? I mean, obviously we talk about the quad god. What can we expect from him in his individual now? He's got one skate left, right?
Yeah, and again, he is the heavy favorite because the stuff that he does is so technical and no one else is doing it. Look for that quad axel. He's probably going to try to land it at some point. Then on the women's side, you have Alyssa Liu, who won the world championship. And you have Amber Glenn, who's won the last 3 national championships. She does a triple axel, which very few female skaters do. Watch her to try to go for that as well. But those Japanese skaters are phenomenal. They're going to be giving them fits throughout.
Yeah, last question. Again, and this is not technical, but do you get points the way Ilya just skates, right? He goes in there. He feels like he owns it. Even when he was making mistakes last night, he just has this thing. I mean, it's like in football we call it swag.
Yeah.
He's got it, right?
Yeah, swagger, style, right? I mean, figure skating is a lot of style, musicality, how you move, the gracefulness of what you do. There is certainly a subjectivity to some of these scores. Not a lot, because the technical scores matter so much. But, yeah, he has some serious swagger. I ran into him in the halls at the IBC, the big broadcasting center, the other day, and he was just walking down the hall, just
So he doesn't walk. He doesn't walk like that. He doesn't walk like he does on the ice. Okay. We got to bring that to the news.
Lots of swagger.
Stephanie, so great to see you. I'm sure we'll see you
Nice to
all
see you
week.
too.
We appreciate it. And with the eyes of the world on the Winter Games, athletes from the U.S. have been fielding questions on the tense political climate back home. Take a listen to some of their comments so far.
We are allowed to voice our opinions on what's going on, and I think that we need to lead with love and compassion.
I think that as a country, we need to focus on respecting everybody's rights.
There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't.
I hope I can use my platform and my voice throughout these games to try and encourage people to stay strong in these hard times.
I want to bring in Kavitha Davidson. She's a sports journalist and host of the Sportly podcast and a good friend of Top Story. Kavitha, so great to see you again. The comments from most of these athletes, you know, I won't characterize them, right? Because some people might think that they're pretty intense. Others might think they're pretty mild. But some of them seem to really have angered President Trump. How do you think the athletes have handled these questions so far?
I mean, I think they've handled them, you know, remarkably. And we have to remember that they're being asked these questions. And they have a right to voice their concerns. And, you know, I kind of fall more on the mild side of things. I don't think anybody said anything particularly inflammatory. They said, you know, let's lead with love. Chloe Kim said, I am the daughter of South Korean immigrants, so what's happening at home hits me particularly close to home, which she has every right to say. But you're right. It has seemed to have angered a lot of people on the right, and particularly President Trump.
Yeah, and then Amber Glenn, who's Team USA's first openly queer female figure skater, said over the weekend she would be taking a break from social media in light of death threats and other hateful comments she's getting online. She didn't perform her best in the team competition. How much does a distraction like that weigh on an athlete?
I mean, I think people need to understand just how mental a game, in addition to being so physical and athletic, how mental figure skating is. You are out on the ice all by yourself. I was a figure skater growing up. I know how lonely the ice can be. And Amber Glenn is somebody who has said that, you know, this career renaissance that she's really had at the old age of 26 has come about because she has figured out some of her mental health issues. I think it's a disservice to her to say that the abuse that she's been suffering from online is the reason that she didn't skate as well as she could have in the team event, because she is a professional athlete and she is at the top of her game. But it is naive to think that it doesn't take some kind of an effect.
You cover the intersection of sports and culture and politics. Before you go, I do want to ask you about Bad Bunny's halftime performance. How's it sort of being seen and reviewed, both in the media but also by people on social media?
I mean, I think that overwhelmingly people loved it, and it's positive. He is, again, the #1 streaming artist in the world. The NFL doesn't make political decisions. They make business decisions, and they went with a global artist at a time when they're trying to globalize their sport. There are a couple of people on the right and a couple of people who particularly don't like his music or don't speak Spanish or anything like that. But I think overwhelmingly it's being accepted positively. And I will say, like, from a kid from New York who grew up with Boricuas, it was a really exciting thing to see on the Lower East Side yesterday.
Kavitha, always so great to have you on the show. We appreciate it. We thank you so much for watching Top Story. I'm Tom Llamas in Milan. Stay right there. More news on the way. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.